Have you spent any time in El Salvador? I haven't actually been down.
I haven't, but I'm going within the coming year.
Amazing. Because I'm actually really curious to see how that experiment, call it, I guess, is going because I hear such mixed reviews. And unless
Yeah.
you're literally on the ground, I think you can't really get a sense of what it's really like. But I mean, in general, it seems like it's only a good thing what's happening.
Well, I would just, this is how I would describe it, Scott. I'll put my engineering hat on. So we have proven out as a community that all of this is possible, that we have a proof, a demo, right? That it's being used in practical use and it can scale, right? This can be replicated anywhere in the world with incentives that are going to match if the demand would pick up for immediate settlement services like this, that you have this incentive structure for people to open channels and all of this can scale. Where I think people are getting confused when they look at El Salvador, and I've heard those arguments where like, that's a failure. Like what's going on down there is a utter failure because it's not actually being used. And so what I would say back to that person, be like, yeah, because today in its current form, relative to the legacy financial system, Bitcoin is a savings technology, right? It is not something that I want to go out there. If I buy into this idea that Bitcoin's going to keep going up by like 100% a year, which I do, I buy into that idea.
You and me both.
Because I know the debasement rate that the rest of the planet fiat currencies are going to go through. That's why I think it's going to go up relative to those currencies, right? But what I think a lot of people just for whatever reason can't wrap their head around is the entire planet's expenses are denominated in those fiat currencies. They can't afford when their disposable income, if they even have any, right? Which, what percent do you think that is, Scott, that actually has disposable income?
1%. If I had to guess, I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but I mean, optimistically 5, I would call it 1.
I agree with you, but let's just say it's 10% of, if you lined up 100 global citizens off the street, and you lined up 100 of them, 10 of them are actually even making money they can save. The other 90 literally have less money the next day and the day after that because they have no disposable income. So we're going to then go to those 90 people and we're going to say, you need to be saving in this thing that has 70% annual volatility or more relative to the local currency that you got to pay all your bills in, right? Like nobody with half a brain is going to say, oh yeah, I'm going to convert this money that I got to pay all these bills in that I'm losing every single month into something that's more volatile and introduce more pain into my life by owning it, right? They're never going to do it. And so when you look at El Salvador and we would look at that specific country, what people actually have disposable income down there to be using this more volatile currency for payments. If they have any disposable income, they want to save in the thing that's going up by 100% relative to their local currency and not spend it, right? It's that simple. I've said in other interviews, Bitcoin is for net producers. If you can actually make some type of in excess of your work and you want to save it in Bitcoin, right? Because you can already pay your bills, right, at the end of the month with whatever you're retaining in local fiat to pay those expenses. You're not out there spending that stuff. So going back to like my point on, El Salvador is a perfect demo that once we get far enough down this path where people are now getting their bills denominated in Bitcoin because it's starting to take over, because it's so obvious. It's not 100% debasement rate relative to Bitcoin. It's now 500% or 1,000% on an annualized basis, because that's where this is all going, whether people like that or not, right? Or don't want to believe it. I don't care whether you believe it. That's where we're going. There's going to come a day where that's the case. And then businesses are going to start saying, no, pay us in Bitcoin. We don't want that fiat because it's debasing too strongly. And that's when you're going to start seeing the pickup in immediate settlement in the demand for it. And then you're going to start seeing all these people that are sitting on large swaths of Bitcoin, the net producers of the world. They're going to start loading their Bitcoin into these channels because there's going to be demand for the fees, right? And that's how it takes place. So the tech's there, the demand isn't. It makes sense that the demand isn't. It shouldn't be based off of how everything's denominated in the world. And the only thing that I think is going to change that is the debasement rate against Bitcoin is going to become that much more profound.